Hi everybody. So this video is going to be a little bit different today. So the topic that I wanted to discuss is basically the topic of something that I'm kind of really interested in myself, that I've talked a little bit about in the past, which is the concept of micro workouts. So basically, a micro workout is, this is just something I've made up. So there doesn't really have to be a strict definition, but something like, okay, maybe it's a workout that's only about 5 or 10 minutes long, probably not much more than that. And, something that, so sort of the strength of the micro workout is that it's something that you can do at home. It's something that you can do that requires minimal equipment. And it's something that you can do basically every day, or at least, maybe even multiple times a day. So I've kind of talked in the past about how, certain muscle groups, say something like arms or your calves or your core, these muscle groups typically are not going to grow very much in response to training compared to some, larger muscle groups like, if you're doing the bench press, you're going to grow your pectorals and your triceps and, so on. If you're doing the deadlift and the squat, you're, developing a whole lot of muscle at once, but it's all very exhausting. And that's why, of course, you have to be a little bit careful about how and, when you do these kinds of movements and making sure that you're getting enough recovery between and so on. Now, on the other hand, we have some things that are really, really easy to recover from. And that's, again, stuff like your arms, your calves, your core, and so on. And so when it comes to these kinds of exercises, you find that, you're in this place where if you really want to develop these muscles a lot, you have to really put a lot of effort in terms of endurance. So you have to do lots of sets, you have to do lots of reps, and you have to do that with, a lot of frequency, which might mean that, okay, basically, if you're really focusing on trying to develop your arms, you might do something like a little bit of arms at the end of every single workout that you do, simply because they're easy to recover from and you need to do a ton of it. So, that's just what, makes the most sense. Now, that's sort of, the idea behind the micro workout is, okay, you're getting, something like that, but you're doing it basically, not in the gym. So maybe you have, a set of dumbbells at home, they're very light, maybe 10, 15, 20 pounds. They don't have to be very heavy, but you can use them to basically, do a lot of these sort of light movements, high reps, endurance focused, and so on. And, you can just focus on getting in a quick workout at home and, doing that repeatedly, maybe every single day, or maybe even multiple times a day. And that goes a really long way towards basically, just establishing what I like to call sort of a baseline of your health. So basically if you're doing, something like 10 squats, 10 push-ups, 10 crunches, so on every single day, is that going to, make you, super jacked? Is that going to make you the most jacked person in the world? Well, obviously not. But it is going to basically establish a sort of baseline of activity where your body is used to doing, at least that much every single day. And if you are very careful about it, if you very slowly add the reps over time, or if you very slowly add, a little bit of weight over time, what you can see is that this can be a really good staple in terms of sort of hitting up, weak points or areas that you feel like you're probably underutilizing a bit in your normal, main workouts. So with that in mind, basically I've always kind of wanted to do a sort of micro workout routine at home, in addition to all the main workouts that I am doing. However, realistically, I've been a little bit lazy a lot of the time, and I've, sort of really struggled to get into a good routine. And in part that is, just basically due to the fact that over the last few years, I haven't really had a ton of ability, a ton of space in which to do these sorts of workouts. So, since I've moved into a new office, since I've moved into a slightly bigger place, I've really, really, really stepped on the gas in terms of doing these micro workouts and really committing to them. So basically the first thing that I wanted to do today is just share, a video of an actual routine that I am doing every single day. And, just kind of go over that a little bit. So, you get kind of an idea of, just how it all works. So, in advance, I'm going to, give a few warnings. I filmed this video in my backyard garden in London. The lighting is not great. I'm a very pale person, so of course the lighting on it, makes me look much pastier and whiter than I really am, and that's not great. But it is what it is. The second thing is, I've been bulking, right? Like I've been eating a lot. I've got a little bit of a gut right now. You do not get to make fun of that. If you do, the gods of the gains will curse you with no gains for 1,000 years. And then, after all that time, your ancestors can come back to my ancestors and apologize for what they've done. And then maybe the gods of the gains will give you your ability to build some muscle back. Don't make fun of me. That's just, why would you do that, man? What's the point? And then, another thing is just that, my feet are in this video. If you look at my feet in this video, you owe me $10 on PayPal. Those are my feet. You have to pay me for access to them. So without further ado, I will go ahead and start up the video. All right, so starting out, I'm going to say that this routine is, the video clocks in at about 7 minutes. So that gives you an idea of sort of just, exactly how long this takes and so on. Starting off here with some push-ups, I believe I aimed for 15 or 16 reps. Starting off, good upper body exercise. Also works out the core a little bit simply because you're stabilizing a little bit like a plank in the process of doing it, and that is great. After that, going into a little bit of flexibility stuff. I don't really do yoga, but I sort of borrowed a lot of my mobility work from sort of sun salutation style stuff a long time ago. The basic sun salutation is a really awesome, sort of flow just in terms of building a lot of mobility, covering a lot of your major sort of, mobility weak points for a lot of people. So, just stretching out a lot for the lower body, working out, basically stretching out the hamstrings, stretching out the lower back, stretching out the legs, just making sure that, you've got sort of nice, good mobility throughout the lower body there. Pretty simple. After that, I am going into a little bit more forward flexion. So, just stretching out my legs there and going into a squat sit. So squat sit's really, really awesome exercise for building mobility in the squat. You're basically just sitting down into the low end of the squat, holding it there, maybe pressing a little bit outwards on your knees with your elbows just to get a little bit more, stretch in there. So after that, moving into the squats, I started off here doing, these squats are a little bit shallow, and I sort of realized halfway through and did some more. So these squats are a little bit shallow. That's fine, whatever. The point here is that there's some body weight squats, just working out the legs a little bit. Again, the point here is not for this to be super hard. The point is for this to be, something that doesn't take too long and just establishes a baseline in terms of your level of fitness. That is what these squats are doing. And also I'll note that, this is right after, I think I did a heavy squat day, maybe the day before this. So my legs were already, pretty demolished even before this workout. But, it's not a problem because that's the point of this workout. The point of this workout is that you have something that's, basically relatively easy that you can do rain or shine every single day, no matter how, no matter what's going on in the rest of your life, no matter how sore you are. After that, so, we've covered basically the pushing movements. We've covered the lower body squatting movements. The next thing I'm going into here is band pull-aparts. I think I did maybe 30 or 40 here. Band pull-aparts are a great upper body, back, so sort of pulling focused exercise. They're really great at sort of opening up the shoulders as well. You can't really see it because I do not have great angle here, but I'm also sort of doing a little bit of a, mobility exercise for the shoulders here, stretching my shoulders out, making sure that everything feels good there. That's a really great exercise. I find it, it's a little bit hard to do a lot of upper body work if you don't have, basically some excess weight to work with. So doing the band and doing the band pull-aparts is a really easy way to do that without using a ton of equipment at the same time. All right, so after that, moving on to arms, like I said, working out some arms here. Doing some very light bicep curls again. I'm doing tons of bicep curls elsewhere in the program. It's not like I'm not doing heavier bicep curls, but this is just 10 pounds each. I've got, a pair of, light, quick change dumbbells at home that I can use for this. Of course, this is where my gut looks wonderful. But, it is what it is. I'm bulking, deal with it. And so, again, this is just working out the arms in a way that's, again, pretty light, pretty sustainable. You can do this basically every single day. If I was you, I would probably skip the arms, honestly. Like doing arm exercises all day is going to be a waste of time for a lot of people if you don't have, like super serious goals. You're really going to get more of an effect out of just doing your push-ups and doing your band pull-aparts. So, honestly, I would say focus on those a little bit more and, probably skip the arms if you're doing this yourself at home. But, that's your choice. If you want sweet arms, go ahead and get sweet arms. I'm not stopping you. Alrighty, so after arms, moving on to doing a bit of foam rolling. I love foam rolling. I have a bit of a bad back simply because I have scoliosis, and that's a thing that I deal with on a regular basis. So, the thing with the foam roller, you don't have to I've got a rumba roller here, which is basically sort of a slightly more advanced version that's a little bit more, it's a little bit better at sort of getting up into those little nooks and crannies in the back and sort of just punching me in all those little weak points that I need to crack. But, I would probably start off with, if I were you, I would probably just start off with a really basic foam roller. It's maybe 20 or 30 bucks. And, it's a really great way to just sort of stretch out the back and make sure that you're getting a little bit of exercise there, just getting a little bit of mobility there. And, it just makes your back feel so much better. So after that, doing a little bit more mobility work here. Again, squat sitting. This time, facing the camera, you can see that I'm sort of focusing on pushing the knees out a little bit more, getting a little bit deeper into the stretch this time around. That's just what it is. And going into a forward bend here, getting a little bit more stuff for the hamstrings, the glutes, and so on. Working my way up very slowly this time, step by step. And all the way up. There we go. All right, so with this video done, I am going to bring up my spreadsheet that I use to track everything and give you sort of an idea of how that works as well there. Okay, so with this you can see a little bit into sort of my personal exercise tracking sheet. This is actually an outgrowth of a project that I started working on a couple years ago, where I was basically taking sort of the spreadsheets that I was using with my clients, and I was preparing to sort of sell them as a as a sort of product. But in the process, a lot of things ended up happening, and I basically just had to shelve, sort of the process of actually releasing it. But I've been using it myself for the last couple of years, as well as, of course, all of my clients. So we have all been testing it, a little bit piece by piece, basically as we go. All right, so there are quite a lot of things that this sheet can do. Today, I'm mostly just going to be focusing on this specific sheet, step count tracking, which I basically created to track my activities of daily living. So activities of daily living is basically everything that you do that's not your sort of main workouts. So that's going to be, just walking around, if you do a lot of housework or gardening, if you have a job that has, a lot of physical labor attached to it. All of that is stuff that, burns a lot of calories that isn't necessarily the stuff that you do, for your workouts. Maybe, for example, you have a long, commute where you walk or you take a train or a bus or whatever that involves a lot more walking. Whatever the case, basically I created this sheet to sort of track all of that sort of stuff, as well as, of course, my micro workouts. So the formatting here is a little bit off because, I kind of started trying to make this really pretty, and then somewhere halfway it kind of got a little bit messed up. But, it is what it is. It functions. So, you can see here that I've got basically the first thing is step count. So basically each day I write in the number of steps that I take. Basically, that's, if you have like an iPhone, basically the phone itself does a pretty solid step count tracking thing. Of course, it'll be better if you have something like a pedometer, and so you can use that to get, a more exact count of the number of steps that you make each day. Whatever the case, I basically just take all of my stuff from the health app on the iPhone, and, I just plug that in here after the end of each day. After that, you've got the weekly rolling average here. So basically that's just, okay, this is the average of the last 7 days, how many steps I've taken. And so, that's, basically it's always a better idea to get, like a rolling average than it is to just worry about the individual numbers. And the reason for that, of course, is simply because, you're always going to have down days. You're always going to have up days. And, you shouldn't be sort of trying to, worry too much about those sort of deviations from the norm. And you should be focusing on, okay, like making sure that your weekly average is increasing a little bit over time. That's sort of the focus there. And it's not to sweat, the individual days. So, taking a weekly rolling average here, you can see that I average at, at the start, okay, about 5,000 steps a day, 5,600, not the best, not the worst, but it is what it is. And then you can see over here that I've been focusing on getting in, more steps. So I've been, taking longer walks in the neighborhood. I'm walking to a new gym that's a little bit further away than my old gym was from my old place. So that's helping a lot as well. My walking days or my workout days, I'm getting quite a lot more walking in. So you can see that the numbers are getting a little bit better here as we get closer to this week. And that includes, basically just going up to about 6,500 steps per day. You also see here a weekly total. So, this is just another way that you can sort of get things on, sort of a weekly basis rather than worrying about things on a daily basis. Basically just looking at a weekly total instead of a daily, total. So again, that's sort of another number that you can look at that will give you, a little bit more perspective. So same thing here, you can see that I've got basically the same thing with push-ups. So with push-ups, okay, I've got push-ups. I've been doing about 15 or so the first week, and then focusing on trying to get about 16 or so on the second week. The second week, I'm also a little bit better about tracking, although I actually got sick a little bit on the 8th and the 9th here. And so, there were a couple days there where I didn't do anything. And I think I don't even remember what happened on the 5th. I think I just entirely forgot to do anything at all. So, you can see here as well that, basically it's starting off, the weekly rolling average starts off a little bit low. But as we get down here, we're starting to improve. And of course, the focus here is that, I'm thinking that I'm probably just going to add one single rep each week for, the next, the near future until I hit a point where, maybe it's getting to be a little bit too much or, a little bit too unmanageable for a very short workout. And, at that point, maybe I'll split it up into 2 sets, or maybe I'll split it up into doing 2 workouts a day or something similar, so I can make sure that I'm continuing to have these numbers go up a little bit over time without doing it in sort of a way too fast or unsustainable way. Same thing here with the squats, same thing, starting off 15 reps for the first week and focusing on getting 16 reps a day in the second week. Band pull apart was a little bit more sort of all over the place. I started out trying to hit it, 15 reps, sort of like the other ones. But then it was kind of like, okay, well, band pull aparts are a little bit easier than these other exercises. So I kind of started cranking up the reps here, 30, 40, 30 the last few days, just because I felt like it, because I had the energy, and why not? Over here, the curl weight is a little bit, the curl setup is a little bit different simply because I actually did, basically a standard volume calculation here. So you're basically saying, okay, here's the weight that you use, here's the sets, here's the number of reps. And then of course the column here just calculates, basically just multiplies those numbers together to get your total volume. And so you can see that I, do 10 pounds, 60 reps, just 1 set, so that's a total of 600 pounds. And you can see that, of course, as I'm focusing on getting in more sets or more reps or whatever each day, that number is also going up. And that is, basically, okay, this is the daily number, this is the weekly rolling average, and then this is the weekly total. And then, of course, over here, just some notes that I've been taking to sort of, remind myself what was going on in each of those days. Obviously, you can see these are the 2 days where I was sick. And so I left myself a little note in there to remind myself, oh yeah, that's why these numbers are off. That just happens. That's, it's nice to have that sort of stuff so you can look back on it and know, again, sort of, why you felt really good or really bad on a particular day. So like this is a pretty simple sheet. I'm going to basically make a copy of it and share a link to it in the video notes below. So you can make a copy of this yourself if you want to. Basically what you're going to do is you're just going to click on the file. You're going to click on make a copy, and then you're going to be able to make a copy in your own Google Drive that you can use for yourself. It's not a very complex sheet. If you know a lot about Google Sheets or spreadsheets in general, then you can, probably do a lot more than I do with this. But this is just a really basic, really simple way of tracking and making sure that you're taking those little steps over time to get in a little bit more activity each day. And, just again, raise that baseline level of fitness a little bit higher. So I hope that this has been, sort of informative for some people. The point of this here is not to say, oh, you need to do this or this is going to supercharge your gains or whatever. I've just always found that I seem to always see that I have the best progress in terms of muscle growth and in terms of strength growth and in terms of just overall energy levels and in terms of sort of mood as well. When I'm, just like doing sort of this regular thing every single day. I think that for some people, it can be hard to sort of do a lot of, really serious workouts outside of your own house. And the point of this also is to remind you that, you can do these you can make these small changes, you can do these small workouts, and they really do add up to something really powerful and meaningful over time. You don't need a ton of equipment. Most of these exercises that I've done here can be modified or changed in ways to make them, more manageable based on your situation. So of course, if you can't do, for example, full push-ups, you can focus on doing push-ups from the knees. You can also make the push-ups easier by basically elevating your hands so that, you're basically putting a little bit more weight on your feet in the process. So if you've got something like a step, you can do it on a step and that'll make it a little bit easier. If you're at home, you can do something like, maybe a countertop or, if you're at the office, maybe the edge of a desk or something like that, so long as the desk is not going to move around. Basically elevating things will make it a little bit easier. So you can always start off with an elevated, hands elevated push up instead if, you need that to sort of get a reasonable number of reps in. Same thing with the squats. If, you find that, you're not really able to do squats very easily, you can do something like you're standing up from a chair and sitting back down again. That's sort of the basic option there. You can do something like holding on to a doorknob or some kind of other object nearby to sort of steady you and give you support, and then just sort of going down as deep as you can into the squat and then coming back up. The band pull-aparts, basically they sell bands and all kinds of resistances, so you can start off with lighter bands and you can progress to heavier bands as you get stronger. Same thing with, doing something like arm curls. You can, just start off with a very light weight, just focus on, adding, reps over time, and then, just focus on adding weight when you really feel like you're hitting that wall where you're just doing a ton of reps and it just doesn't feel meaningful. And same thing with all the exercises. You can progress these as well when they're starting to get too easy. So if you find that you're able to do, a ton of push-ups or a ton of squats, you can always add some challenge. With squats, you can, maybe get some light dumbbells and add those into the squats to do something like a goblet squat or a double dumbbell squat that will basically allow you to make it a little bit harder. You could swap squats out for something like lunges, which are a bit harder. You can add extra resistance in the band pull-aparts. You can make the push-ups harder by basically elevating your feet instead of your hands. So, if you've got something like, again, a step or, something else that you can put your feet up on, that will make the push-ups harder. You can also add things like you could do band-resisted push-ups by looping a band around your back. You could add weight by adding a weight vest in. There's all sorts of ways that you can progress these exercises or regress these exercises to make sure that there are just the right level of resistance for you, and so that they are just the right level of resistance so that, again, it's an easy workout that you're doing basically every day, and you're finding that very sustainable, and it's, it shouldn't really be hard at all to sort of get going with that. So I hope that has helped everyone this week. As always, I will see you guys next time. Do not hesitate to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you want to see in future videos. Send me ideas for, topics that you want to see covered in future videos on Curious Cat. Whatever the case, I will see you all next week. Have a good one.